Hey everybody, Todd Gailey here. It is Palm Sunday. It is April 5th, 2020, and we are in the middle of Corona hell. Our whole world's being shut down, and I just want to speak a word of encouragement to everybody because I've heard a lot of people expressing just some feelings of stress and worry, anxiety, fear of the future and what's going on. And I don't know how many of you know my story, but a lot of you do. But about a year ago, I lost my career job of 20 years, and I also went through my second divorce. And last year was a really hard year for me, and I learned so much through that time. And it was just a time of uncertainty. And I might not understand your exact pain, and you might not understand my exact pain, but there's a lot of common ground in our lives, and just experiencing pain in general, or loss, or stress, anxiety, fears, worry. And it's crazy because in the midst of this corona thing, or isolating ourselves or quarantining, in our separation, that's actually where we find our common ground, right? We're all in this together separately, physically separately, right? But hopefully emotionally and mentally and spiritually in unity. And this circumstance, this thing, this pandemic that the world's going through, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for all of us to respond. Because at some point in our lives, whether it's today or at some point, we'll all go through some hard days with stress and anxiety, maybe fear, maybe the pain of loss. I mean, people are losing their jobs, losing their homes, losing their businesses. Relationships are going through some serious struggles. There's really hard times all across the board right now. And that's why it's just so important, from what I've learned in this last year, to just truly trust God and be present in His peace in a way that we've never experienced before. And hopefully we've never had to experience that. Honestly, I feel like God's been preparing me for this last year of walking me down through this faith journey. And I hope that you allow Him to do the same with you. And it's really just a time to just stop and pause. And the whole world is essentially pausing right now. And thank God we still have some people working, some of the healthcare providers, people working at the grocery stores keeping us fed, and some businesses, some restaurants still trying to stay open. But during this time, there's turmoil throughout the entire world. I mean, I think we're all, around like 1.3 million people have tested positive, and we know that number is probably double because we didn't have enough testing and stuff early on, but somewhere around 70,000 people have already died from this around the world, and those numbers are going up, every minute, every second. And yet, in the midst of all this, there are all these other things that have been going on every day that have higher fatality rates, that drunk driving, heart attacks, strokes. There's a million ways to die, and as a firefighter paramedic for 20 years, I saw just about every way to die. I know there's more, but I saw a lot of ways that people die, expectedly and unexpectedly, and it's very traumatic. And there's been a lot of physical death, but also there's been a lot of death of just the way that we know life, our daily life, the way we know it has ended for a lot of people. And it's a time for us to respond. We have a choice today of how to respond to this. And I want to encourage everyone to just stop and pray about how you can best respond to this day, to this worldwide event. And it's not always easy, but Christ offers us peace. In Colossians 3:15, that's my favorite chapter in the Bible, verse 15, it says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." So I ask you right now, what's ruling in your heart? Are you allowing the things of this world to rule in your heart and your mind? Are you allowing the stress and the anxiety and the fear to take over? If you are, I'd encourage you to just stop. Because Satan wants to continue to take you down that road, especially in this time of isolation where you may feel alone. You may be alone. Some people literally are home alone by themselves, or just you and an immediate family member or roommates. And, Christ offers us a peace that surpasses all understanding. And we can search wherever we want for that peace, but that true peace is only found in him. And so I just ask all of you to just kind of check yourselves and realize that at this point in life, every single one of us has an opportunity to respond. We celebrate Palm Sunday as the day that Jesus entered Jerusalem. He was going into Jerusalem knowing that he was going to be crucified. He knew the future, and yet he chose to continue to press on, to step forward. And that's what I want to encourage you to do, is to just take the next step forward. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 34, it talks about not worrying about tomorrow, for each day has enough trouble of its own. Realize that God's going to provide for you. And it's not going to do any of us any good to spend today stressing about tomorrow, about the future, okay? So just stop, take one day at a time. He gave us 24 hours for a reason. Focus on today. Focus on choosing peace, and find those small things around your house, your life, your family, things that you can be grateful for, and respond. Because like I said, Satan wants to take you down that road of self-pity, worry, anxiety, fear. But Christ gives us this opportunity to stop and enjoy this moment and realize the blessing that we have in watching our world stop. Stop from all the social norms. Stop from the hustle and bustle. Slow down and just be present with him in this moment. He promises us in Jeremiah 29:11 that he's got great plans for our future, plans to prosper us, not to harm us, plans to give us a hope and a future. Read that verse over and over again. It's so good. In Proverbs 3:5 and 6, you've heard me say it before, we just need to trust him and lean not on our understanding. Because our understanding, if we listen to the advice of the world, it'll create fear. Heck yeah, if you're experiencing stress or fear, anxiety right now, I can see why. People are dying, the world, the economy's crashing. But guess what? We know the end of the story. We know the end of the story. So we don't have to get caught up in the worry about tomorrow, because we know where we're going. And so just take one day at a time, be present with your loved ones, use these unique opportunities. The younger generation, they are technologically savvy. Use this time to speak to them, speak into their hearts and minds, and lead them and guide that next generation. Use their tools, use technology, Zoom, FaceTime. I learned you could FaceTime and add another person on FaceTime. I didn't know you could do that. Use Zoom and all these other media channels to do group chats and interactions. Go do a prayer walk. Stay 10 feet apart. Wear your mask. Don't touch anything, but go do a prayer walk. Go do a prayer walk through your neighborhood, maybe with someone or for someone or around your church building. But this is a great opportunity to respond. And just like Jesus did on Palm Sunday, he chose to continue to move forward. There's a verse that talks about perseverance, and the Greek word is etmoven, and it literally means to press on. And sometimes that's all we need to do, is just take that one next step. I think that from Frozen 2, right? I think, do the next right thing. Yes, Frozen 2. Quoting Frozen 2. Do the next right thing. And just take that one day at a time. And just know that in all this, it says in Romans 8:28, that God's working for the good of those who love him. That's you and I, who have been called according to his purpose. So realize that he's got a purpose, he's got a plan. Trust in his plan, and that's that true faith of being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you cannot see. Hebrews 11:1, certain of what you cannot see. And it's okay that we don't know the exact future. We may not know what tomorrow holds, but we know who holds tomorrow. So my prayer for all of us as a world, that we would use this time where Satan's trying to take us down a road of fear and isolation, and yet we can find that common ground. In Ephesians chapter 6, it talks about putting on the full armor of God. And one of those things is the shield of faith, to block out all the flaming arrows of the evil one. I'll tell you what, right now is a time to use your faith to block out all those attacks of Satan. Block those flaming arrows. Shut out all that negativity and put in, like it talks about in Philippians chapter 4, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So remove the negativity, but more importantly, replace it with those things that Philippians 4 reminds us that Paul writes about. And a few verses later, Paul writes Philippians 4:13. I know a lot of you know that. But I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You can get through this through Christ's strength. Don't worry about tomorrow, Matthew 6. Just take one day at a time. And trust, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in his great plan. Jeremiah 29:11. He's got great plans for you. And just know that he loves you. And he's with you. And I love that verse that he reminds us that he will never leave us nor forsake us. We don't have to go to him because he's never left us. He is with us right here, right now. So my prayer is that Colossians 3:15, that we would all experience that peace, that we would let the peace of Christ rule in our hearts. What's ruling in your heart? Let's choose to allow the peace of Christ to rule in our hearts. I love y'all. I'm praying for our world. I know you guys are too. Let's all be smart, and let's find this common ground, and let's unite in this time. Love you all. Peace.